Okay, Miss Valerie Lin, first of all, I want to thank you very much for taking time off your busy schedule to be with us today. I understand you're a corporate trainer with Knowledge Point. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
My background is I'm American. I grew up in New Jersey and lived and worked in New York. And there I worked for a Japanese finance firm. And in a Japanese firm, you wear many hats. And one of them was doing training, orientation for staff, whether it was coming over from Japan or people who worked there on introduction to the company and procedures, policies, as well as some computer training. I was the person who would be sent for computer classes and then train people. Then I went over to Japan, teaching English, and I was teaching English in a corporate atmosphere. And with that, I was also doing some training with how to understand the American business culture, as well as negotiating. And so then I did that for 4.5 years. After 2 years, I had my own company and ventured into media and other forms of training and teaching.
Okay. And right now you're doing training on customer service, communication over the phone. You're the expert in providing quality service. From your personal experience, what is the best service you've ever had over the phone as a customer?
The best experience I've had has been with Citibank. For sure. I've been a customer of theirs for many, many years, for about 10 years or more, and their training is impeccable with their staff, how they handle customer service. They get a lot of training, and it's continuous training, and it's continuous improvement, and I think that's very important. Training is not just a one-shot thing. It has to be backed up, and it has to be supported by management and supervisors as well. It's something that's repetitive.
Okay. Can you tell us basically what are the basic telephone techniques that every telemarketer should have?
Okay, what I feel is important is, first of all, is when you call customer service, you want to hear a pleasant person. You want to know the person's awake, and you want them to have a pleasant, polite voice. I think that's important, and that can be learned, because we just talk out of default. You have a voice, most people do, and you don't realize how you can manipulate it. So having a pleasant voice is one of the things I think is very important, as well as politeness. And when I say this, like we're talking about telemarketers and customer service agents in their role, being polite is it's very nice to hear on the telephone. Someone says, thank you, yes ma'am, this, that, and have a nice day. What can I do for you today? Just being polite is very important, and these are the small things, as usual. And people say, oh, they don't really think people appreciate, but they really do in the end. As well as a confident vocabulary that they can and will help you, and they're there for you, and they're focused on you. You are important to that person in those 10 minutes or so, or even 5 minutes on the phone. So someone's going to help you, and through that they can convey that by confident and positive vocabulary. And then likewise, patience, as in they don't interrupt you. And you get out your problem, and then they can reflect that back. So having patience, and generally, if you like people, helps. It helps with a customer service agent. It makes the job easier. If you're a bit of a people person, I think it's a bit of a struggle if you're not a people person. So I think that's for the agent themselves, if they like to help people in general.
What you were saying about pleasant voice, you mean the way it sounds, does that come under voice management?
Yes.
How does that work?
Yes, it does. People don't realize how they can manipulate their voice.
How do you manipulate?
Most people, like for example, singing is the best example. Most of us don't get voice lessons. I've never had voice lessons. I always wanted to. But so how I teach that is I get people to sing in class, and just do voice exercises, just like the scale. We have all these different ranges, and we just talk and pick up the phone and use it subconsciously. When we don't realize that we're talking like this, and they don't realize whether they're mumbling or they're not opening their mouth. And you say, good morning, this is Valerie from Knowledge Point. How may I help you? Just the different ranges of your voice that you can use. It's really conveyed over the telephone. You can convey sadness and enthusiasm, and of course anger is easy to convey.
You don't need training for that.
You don't need any training for that. That's natural. But people don't realize, and sometimes you can have a bit of fun as well, because it's much better, like I said, if you're a people person and you like people. I'm one of these people who like to like my job. Because then it's not a job, it's a career, and you enjoy it because you spend a significant amount of your life working.
Yeah.
So why not enjoy it and have fun?
Are there any myths about telephone communications that we succumb to which we shouldn't?
Basically, one of them in the customer service kind of realm is smiling. Smiling is conveyed over the telephone, and that the people, like I said, I go back to things that I've repeated about being polite and telling people, even if you said it 30 times, have a nice day, have a nice day, and you're just going to do this routine, people do appreciate it. I appreciate when people say that. Is there anything else I can do for you? There's little things that are politeness. Smiling is conveyed over the telephone. Gesturing, like the salespeople who use their gestures to make a point. This is the best product that you can get for your money. You know, you're using these gestures, and it just...
While you're on the phone.
Yeah, it influences, it just impresses the point onto the customer.
Oh yeah, it's conveyed through your voice when you physically also...
It's reinforced, I should say. It's reinforced. That's being from America, and the people in sales, they usually wear headsets. And they do this to keep their arms free. Okay. And they do gesture, and they're trained for this, like I said, and that does come across. You can pick up the phone and use it subconsciously all the time. People don't realize you have to be a bit animated. Yeah. You know, I'll talk with my, friends or family naturally, how just like you and I are. But if I'm on the phone, I'll be a bit more animated and open my mouth more, because you're speaking over an imperfect medium of communication. Yeah. So that you don't know, if there's static on that person's line, or they have a problem with their volume or your volume. So just be a bit more animated. I tell people, choose an actor. And then they tell you Julia Roberts or Tom Cruise or this. And I say, well, be that actor for today. And try to get them, to be a bit silly, but then it just reinforces all the points that we go over in the course.
Okay. I've read a few things about soft customer service skills, which covers things like NLP. How does mirroring your customer speech patterns endear them to you? Or?
Okay, NLP is...
Neuro-linguistic.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Having somewhat of a finance background, I'm thinking non-performing loans. Like NLP.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The NLP is basically how people communicate. It's kinesthetic programming. It's basically a muscle memory, but it's like we don't forget, no matter how many times we get into a car. Like I haven't driven a car in about 6 months, but I still get in, I know what to do. Okay. And it feels natural. People, how can I explain this? Basically that's feeling. So it's like their personal, preferred personal communication styles, and this is one of them: kinesthetic and visual. And then what's it? I can't remember. It's kinesthetic, visual, and Darcy, that next one. It's I can't remember this off the top of my head, and I teach this. Visual, kinesthetic. Feel, see, and hearing. Sorry about that. Okay, so these are all. It's all their preferred personal communication channels, where like say, oh, I see what you mean, or I can see the writing on the wall, or if people say, that sounds fair to me, or this sounds like something I don't want to, be involved in. Or feeling, this is I don't feel you're listening to me. Or I don't feel you understand my situation. Okay. These are just mirroring. We go over these in class, and it's very easy to do, but it's very easy to miss if you're not trained for it, because they're just these words you listen to, and then you just use them in your reply back to them.
So that doesn't mean like if the guy is talking really fast, you kind of match up with him.
Yeah, that's the other part of it. That's with
awesome.
pacing and rate. Is that if someone is, if you have a slow talker and you say, hello, I'm calling to tell you about my account. You say, okay, fine. What's your account number? What's it? And you're at a very high, pace. You're not really matching the customer, and they're gonna feel that you're actually talking above their head, and you're. It's kind of a bit insulting to someone like that. They think you're, who's this person? So you try to get down to their level. And if it's a fast talker, then you try to match them. Okay, so if you talk too slow, then they'll feel like, well, who is this person that's on the phone?
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to help me. Give me someone that can help me. Give me your manager. So it is all about using trying to match their preferred channels of communication, as well as things like the pacing. So if you talk too fast, nothing's going to get in. I tell my students, pretend there's someone laying on this side with a funnel sticking out of their ear. They have a really wide funnel, say it's a stockbroker in the middle of the trading day. They can talk like 210 words a minute, and you can match that because all the information will go in. But if you're talking to a furniture dealer in Malacca, it's going to be much slower, so that funnel is going to be more narrow. So if you talk too fast, a lot of that is going to just, fall out, and they're not going to understand what you're saying.
Okay. What about spin doctoring? How does that work over the phone?
Spin doctoring, I don't know what spin doctoring is.
Turning something that may not be so positive into something that's incredibly positive. Like twisting it. Not necessarily lying, but kind of, what do you call it? Twisting it around.
I couldn't comment in a sales kind of capacity, but if you're talking about an angry customer or something, basically you just should be quiet and listen for a bit. Because, like I say, when we get to our complaining caller, that's not necessarily an angry caller. Be patient and listen. If it does turn into that angry caller, you have to just apologize, give your verbal cues, oral affirmations, and just let the person talk and make sure you're taking notes that you're active listening. And then when the person's done or starts repeating themselves, you can excuse yourself, pardon me, ma'am, and that sends them from a ascending mode to a receiving mode, and they're ready to listen to you. And it's okay, let me see if I have this right. And then you go, and then you reflect and repeat what your understanding is of the facts, because you're only jotting down the facts, not the emotions, not the sarcasm, nothing. So you're just kind of reading in between all of that. So spinning that around, hopefully, by showing them that you're being quiet, you're patient, you're respectful, because this is an urgent call, right? We say it's urgent call when it's someone who's angry, and reflecting back all the information, and hopefully that will be enough to turn it around.
Okay. And what I mentioned just now about soft customer service skills, how do you define soft customer service as opposed to just customer service?
Soft customer service, I would believe that would probably be in the realm of all your soft skills, your communicating and your active listening and your voice, things that complement, what you have to get for your customer service. Your behaviors, your attitude, your philosophy should be your own philosophy, or you must adopt your company's philosophy if you want to have a positive relationship. And companies want employees that believe in their philosophy and follow that to be successful.
Yeah. Okay.
So that would be just your ideas and attitudes, and like I said, how you speak, things of that sort.
Okay. What are your thoughts on scripts? Do you think they should be given or not?
Well, a full script is not good, because people go through integrated voice responses, and they go through the computers, and they want to know when they reach a real person, a real live person.
Yeah.
So if you have a script and you're talking to someone, you're going to sound like you're reading, and you're a computer. That's been a big complaint in the past.
Too dependent on the script.
Yeah, being too dependent. But a script, if it's in bulleted form or a flow chart, I even like mind mapping. That's good because it keeps you focused, keeps you directed to your objective, and it allows you not to forget things. You know, important points or little bits and bobs of information. So scripts aren't good per se, word for word, but if it's more if it's in a chart form, I think it can be beneficial.
Okay.
I mean, when I make a phone call, I always write down bullets of what I'm going to say so I don't forget anything. Because in a conversation,
yeah, you go on and
you go on tangents. It just happens.
Okay. Like, talking over the phone is very challenging as opposed to face-to-face communication. How do you determine what your customers' needs are? Are there any techniques or phrases that you need to say in order to get them to answer?
Basically, when they call you, they're calling you not to say, "Hey, you're doing a great job."
Yeah.
They're calling you for they're calling you for a problem. You know, they have a complaint or they have a issue or a problem that they need solved. So you have to listen. You have to actively listen to what the customer is saying. If they're a bit vague and they don't know the problem, which happens in computers and things, you just have to take them, guide them. Oh, is this happening? Is that happening? If they're indecisive, they're not sure. Basically, you have to listen, and then you have to, when you want to elaborate, you have to ask open-ended questions. Who, what, where, why, how. And then when you think you have all the information you need and you want to confirm to make sure you understand, you ask your close-ended questions. Which is yes or no or whatever answer. It's usually one word answer. Basically, it's listening. Listen to your customer. Yeah. It's important.
And you mentioned active listening. How is active listening different from plain listening?
Well, it's like listening and hearing. Hearing, if you're, other than if you're physically handicapped, we all hear by default. Yeah. Okay, we have 2 ears, and you hear. You can't help that. But listening is where it's an intellectual and emotional activity, where you are listening for, if it's in person, you listen for look at their body language. Over the phone, you're listening for their emotional state. Take if they're angry or sad or sarcasm. You're listening through that. You're listening for things that maybe they can't say or directly. But maybe they're hinting at. So it's more of hearing. You can just be listening and not take anything in. You ever just look at someone and they're talking and you just realize, wait a minute, what did they say?
Yep.
Where was I for that minute? You're thinking about you're washing or you're shopping or did you turn the light off at home or something? But this is really focusing. And that's why it helps, when you jot notes and even letting a customer know, okay, if they're talking too fast, I'm just taking notes as we go along here to make sure I have a complete understanding of your situation. Do you mind slowing down or something? So that's more of active listening. You're focusing. You're giving oral cues, verbal affirmations.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think are the most common ways that call center agents or receptionists and whatever what are the most common mistakes that they make or things they take for granted?
Let's see. One thing is they don't let people finish. They interrupt people. They don't let them finish their thoughts. They form answers in their head because maybe they've heard this same common complaint time and time again, and then they cut off the person. And it's a bit irritating whether it is the same question, but then it couldn't be. There's lots of instances. Or when I was in university, and one professor was notorious for cutting off a student, and because she thought she knew the question, but only 50% of the time she was right. And I've had it done to me, and I'd look at a classmate and say, "It's not what I wanted to ask." So they have to be patient, and even though I've heard it, they have to realize that this is a new person. It's a generic problem, but each caller is individual, so it's happening to them. So let people talk. And like I said, if they start repeating themselves, then you interject with, "Oh, excuse me, Mr. Singh, let me just make sure I understand this correctly." So,
would that be the same as the 8th question, which I've listed here, like sabotaging your sales over the phone?
Usually with sales over the telephone, people aren't able to handle for sabotaging themselves is they're not well prepared, like they say. You do have your script, but like I said, I just like your bullet points or your mind mapping type of diagram, because they're not prepared for objections. Yeah. And it's usually the rule of thumb is you read all of your objections or your frequently asked questions, and you have like a minimum of like 4 or 5 answers for each one. And so their inability to be able to, because if I have an objection and I hear like 3 kind of answers, you know, that says yes, my objection is valid, you always agree with the person because it is valid. You know, whether it's price or just you know, some feature or something, that's very valid. But we have this, and this, you know, to offset that. So you need to offset them. Also, pushing too hard and too fast. Yeah. I mean,
too aggressive.
Yeah, they're too aggressive over the telephone. Maybe they should try not to. Typically, they say try not to do a sale in the first call. Maybe the second call.
Okay.
And then they focus on, for sales, they focus on the features instead of the benefits. Okay, so, you know, if you're on a telephone and say, you know, you have a speed dial feature, yeah, well, that's great, but how can that benefit me? Why do I want to pay more for your service? I mean, you know, what's the benefit of the features? Yeah. Features are there, but benefits are very, very important. That's where you make your sale.
So that's how I think that agents have to be very, very prepared. Is it one of their biggest mistakes? Not just not being trained on telephone skills. Skills are one thing, but not being trained on their products and services themselves?
Yes. Not knowing them thoroughly enough to talk about them confidently and as an expert. Yes. And actually, I mean, a lot of customers will say, well, what about this company? And they'll name a competitor of yours. Well, you know, your competitor product does this, and it's, you know, $100 cheaper than yours. Yeah, yeah. And people are like, they're a bit stuck. So you need to understand a bit of your competitors. Of course, not in detail, depending on, you know, the level of sales that you're doing. Okay. If it's very, very high level sales, we're talking millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands, then you need to understand your competitors intimately. Yeah. Otherwise, you know, for say low end sales, you just need to say, oh yeah, they do have these features, but you know, we have the same for this, but you know, we have a better feature. Yeah. So you need to understand that.
Would you say that the biggest way of sabotaging your own company, your own company's image, is by putting an untrained, inexperienced agent over the phone?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Because not only is this person you know, representing themselves, but it's your corporate image. Why would you want someone who has no training, who doesn't know how to talk or speak or handle themselves or react to a customer or to control their emotions or have patience? I mean, you're just, for branding purposes of your firm, it doesn't make any sense to put someone on the phone who doesn't know how to handle or conduct themselves in a professional manner.
Okay. Apart from Citibank, you mentioned Citibank. Are there any, you know, another 1 or 2 companies that you think are a very, very good example of professional? They have good telephonists, they have good receptionists, good service.
Actually, a good example I will say was Star Alliance in Australia. They were very good. That's for the airline. I wanted to redeem a ticket, get a free ticket because I had so many miles. They're very, very helpful. Yeah, they were very good.
Okay. All right. Final question. Dealing in customer service, it's important for you to maintain a cheerful outlook and smile all the time. What keeps you smiling when you don't feel like it?
Being a bit silly, you know, between calls. Yeah. You know, they always say, you know, to keep a mirror, you know, about that size, one that can, not a small one that you can have, and you can see yourself fully. You know, different mental exercises. If I want to get some aggression out, you know, if I'm dealing with a difficult customer, and if, you know, you draw them, you know, make this angry face, and then you take it afterwards, and
you're smiling over the phone because you're happy.
You know, well, you know, then you just kind of make a silly face, or you know, I also do this thing where it's a mental exercise, where you know you have 3 things on your side. I can think any thought I want. I can think any thought I want about myself. This person cannot upset me or have affected me. And then I write 3 statements. We do that in our class. So the first statement may be, this person's loony, this person is, something. This is a kooky, crazy person. Next thing I know, I'm professional. I'm not, I know I'm an intelligent, professional person. And third one, maybe, as soon as I get off this phone, I'll never have to talk to this person for the rest of my life. So these mental exercises you can do, and so drawing pictures and then throwing them out.
Now I know what agents do while I'm on the phone with them. Just you on paper.
Yeah, if you're
nice to you over the phone.
Yeah, because you do have to get it out, because you try not to take it home, because in sales is a very, very tough job, as well as customer service. It's easy to keep it inside. People abuse you. You hear terrible stories. I mean, the call centers I train at would say people have, cried, women cry, and things like that. People can be very, very abusive, very mean, and uncaring. It's coming to you with a problem, and they want you to solve anything, everything and anything. So it's sometimes when people call centers, they are it's unrealistic expectations sometimes, because they are dealing with another person.
They think you're
so they forget that. Yeah, but actually, really breathing a lot. They say 5, I say 10 super deep breaths. Gets all that stale air out of your lungs, and you just bring it out. Really gives you a bit of a rush. I mean, it takes a few minutes to do it, but it's very true.
Yeah.
And, just laughing with a coworker, or just going outside and just doing something.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Miss Lynn.
You're welcome.
I had a very good time with you.
Thank you.